welcome back to CNBC Africa as we continue our live coverage from the African Investment Forum at the Sandton Convention Center. This time around, we're going to move to a new panel, and they're going to be discussing family businesses and how to drive new investments. Among other things, they will look at issues around the role of family businesses as creators of wealth and major employers and significant contributors to GDP.
The African Development Bank, which I thank you very much that he hosted us, to talk about family business. Family business is not a niche. Family business is the business. So if you look to this, I don't know if you can see it from far away, but you see how many percentage in each country family business in private sector. It's impressive. The number of family business in private sector is going between 60 to 80%. If you go to Europe, if you go to Latin America, if you go any country, you will find that this family business is the biggest player in the private sector. The biggest player in the private sector. Second thing is, what is percentage of workforces in certain countries who generated by family business, who work for family business? Again, very impressive number. Look to Italy. 94% of the workforces work for family business, okay? So when we talk about investment in countries, if we underscore the influence of family business, we're ignoring big player. The last thing is how family business contribute to GDP in certain countries. And you will see the most competitive countries like Germany, like especially Latin America, like Germany, like Switzerland even, most of the competitiveness pillar of any of these countries is SMEs, and 95% of these SMEs are family business. So very important to give you some thoughts about what's family business all about. Okay. Now, how family business investors think. And here, I'm not going to give you a magic recipe. I'd like to share with you the topics that we will cover. Our purpose is to encourage collaboration between family business in the Middle East. As you know, in the GCC and all these countries, family business is dominant. In Africa, it's still fragmented. In the top 100 companies in the Middle East, 80% is family business. In the top 100 companies in Africa, only 20% is family business. So this is an opportunity here of collaboration, and this is the purpose of this meeting. So family business as investors, and if we look to AIF as an enabler, the different segment that family business will think about, and we will talk about it with our distinguished panelists, is growth through SMEs. We'll talk about building alliances and partnership between family businesses, and we have specific experiences. We'll talk about women in business, and this was stressed very much this morning about women in business, and everybody applauds. But I would like to share with you the lost opportunities also when women are not in the business. We'll talk about resource scarcity, which is there, but we live in denial. I will talk to you about investing in startups and new technology. We will talk to you about emerging investment opportunity with new trend in this panel. So this is our map. This is what we could talk about. Just to give you a little bit of some fact and figures. Growth in Africa, we talk about it. Growth in Africa is the highest growth in the world. Population, the highest growth. So that means, of course, we need infrastructure, but we need more technology, we need more jobs. The other thing is, the danger is that there is 1 billion people living in slums, and 62% of these 1 billion people are living in sub-Sahara. Slums is a danger, is a pressure on the community and for a human being in general. If we do nothing about it, in the next few years, there will be 2 billion. 2 billion people in slums. This means a lot of things will happen. I don't know if you visited slums. I visit a lot of slums in Egypt, in Africa, in Lagos, in South Africa. It's not nice. Slums is not nice, okay? And we have to do something about it. And it's not only by building bridges and roads that we will resolve the problem of slums. It's by creation of jobs, okay? The other thing is, this is a map of water risk. Red is bad news, okay? Red is bad news. Water risk, imagine all the promising countries are, as a market, as a growth opportunities, are under water risk. And I will not enter in details because I don't like you to be sad. But everybody knows what is the water. But we live in certain denial about water risk. A lot of family business are investing in water and to recycle water, to save waters. Other thing is, consequence is food insecurity. Food insecurity. It's a very unpromising map, food insecurity. We have a problem. And President Ramaphosa, he said it this morning, we are importing food, and we should not happen. It should not happen. It is heavy on our balance sheet. So we should not import food. We should grow food. I give you one of this, how technology, we talked about technology, it was a brilliant digitalization session in this room just before lunch. I just give you few figures, how technology can help fighting poverty. 40% of food, stable foods, is lost before they reach the market. This is impressive, 40%. How many people you can feed with 40%? And if we use a new technology, and I think some people are promoting that here in this same floor, 470 million small farmers in Africa will be in better shape. And it does not need to build bridges. Now everything is digital. You can spot where is the place and how to do it and so on. I think this is very important slide. And for you to orient your investment and for family business, that is what is in their mindset, food security. The last thing is look to this map and reflect for a few seconds. If you are not on the map, that means you are not receiving enough FDI. If you don't find your country on the map or you find it small, that's the proportion of FDI that you receive. What strikes you in this map? What strikes you in this map? What? Africa is not there. Right. Africa is not there. What strikes you else? You said Singapore. Yeah. What is related to the recent event that you see in the TV? Hong Kong. Hong Kong. So Hong Kong issue is not only democracy and freedom. If China loses Hong Kong, it will lose one of the biggest gate of investment. Biggest gate of investment. So this is, once we are in this map as African, it's a great day. It's a great day, okay? And how you attract FDI and how, this is what we will discuss a little bit with, we will touch base with our panelists. With this, I'd like to stop here. I'd like to move this one. We can come back to the other one because it's not very nice one. So I have the pleasure today to have several family business who really flow from far away to be with us. And we will share the rest of the panel with them. I like to invite Dr. Laila Umatu, who from Mauritania, please to join the... Dr. Laila traveled 22 hours to arrive here, so thank you very much. And I would like to invite Mr. Ahmed Swedi from Egypt. Mr. Isa Ghurer from UAE. Hana Nifedi from Sudan. And last but not least, Fathi Al Saeed from everywhere on the planet. So Fathi is fourth generation. He's third generation from a family called Hail Saeed. His son is already working, so they are third, fourth generation. Dr. Laila is the second generation in Mauritania. Ahmed, Engineer Ahmed is second generation. And Hana is second generation. Mr. Isa Al-Ghurer, second or third? Third generation, sorry. And Mr. Isa Al-Ghurer is third generation, maybe fourth, we don't know. So I would like just, instead of presenting myself and reading from this paper, I would like us to hear from them spontaneously who they are, and they will do that briefly, that we can, after that, I have a list of questions that I will ask them, and you're also welcome to interrupt me, and I don't like to wait until Q&A, because then you forget what we said. Just interrupt me in the middle. I'm happy to take questions, and then so on. So I would like to ask you with Fathi to start to present briefly your family business all over the planet.
Thank you so much for having me. My family business started in 1938 in Yemen by my grandfather. Then we, expanded outside of Yemen in the early 70s to the GCC, Egypt, Southeast Asia, and later in the 90s in Africa. We are into FMCG, packaging, cement, flour milling, and in trading as well. We have businesses, as I said today, in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya, Djibouti, UK, and Southeast Asia. There are about 70 family members working in the group, and that's quite challenging and unique, and we'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. My name is Leila Bouamatou. I am the CEO of Général de Banque de Mauritanie, which is the first investment and corporate bank created in '96, which is a part of a family group that is involved in a lot of different sectors. I've been the head of the bank for the last 2 years, and I've been involved in the family business for the last 15 years.
Thank you very much. Ahmed?
Swedi, I'm the CEO and the president of Swedi Electric, one of the companies working in the region. We work in our headquarters in Egypt, North Africa, Gulf region, Europe, all over Europe, even Asia and Latin America. We work in around 70 countries worldwide as operations and exporting to 110 countries worldwide. We work mainly in infrastructure, roads, bridges, tunnels, also in power generation, desalination water, manufacturing cables, transformers, meters, and investing in power mainly. And we are not a lot of the family in the company, and mainly I'm working on transferring it 100% to our corporate business. And even I'm in my mind not to put one of the family business as head of the company, just leave it open to the best who can fit, and the family business would be focused on as the board of directors or on the board level. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. I think you started a big subject at the end of at the end of your introduction. Hana?
Good afternoon. I'm Hana Nifedi from Sudan. I'm a member of the Nifedi group. It's a business that started in 1934 in Sudan by my grandfather, Bashir Nifedi. And in the 70s or late 60s, most of his sons then joined. And we're mostly in logistics, transport. We've been in logistics since 1974. we've been based in Sudan, but we also worked in Ethiopia, Cameroon, Central Africa, a lot of African countries, and now about more than 20 of the third generation has joined the business in the past 10 years. And we expanded over the years to the UAE, to America, but I think for the past 10 years we've been concentrating mostly on Africa is our biggest interest.
Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. I have two hats. One is a family hat, and one is the group family. My family started by my grandfather in banking, real estate, manufacturing in the early 60s. We were the first people who had a shopping center in the Middle East. 1978, it was opened. And also the banking was first private bank in the UAE in 1968. And I started my own business with my children, and it's focusing on food, healthcare, and real estate. And there is a lot of opportunities that it is there in the world that we can cooperate on these areas. I also like the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and on the board. I will explain about it later on.
Thank you very much. I have some generic questions for the panel and also very specific questions when it's come to their business, and then you are also most welcome to ask questions. I'd like to start with Engineer Ahmed. You have been in a lot of countries and in Africa, and you also have been also abroad, I mean in Europe and US and so on. What do you say in Africa, what will take to increase the attractiveness of the investment to see Africa more on the FDI map than it is now?
Of course, we work, example, in Africa, in North Africa, in Europe, and in the Gulf region. For me, each place has its attractiveness to attract investors. Of course, if you want to make business in Europe, it's easy to make business, but really, profit margins is very slim, and the competition is very hard, very hard. Even to survive is not easy. Even the Gulf region now, the competition has been very tough everywhere. Africa, it's of course a virgin place. It's not easy to work there. Until now, it's not clear for any investors how to invest. It's not easy. The infrastructure is not there to invest. If you want to make any kind of investments, the infrastructure, either electricity, either water, either roads, it's not there. So this will not help you in building really big operations. Especially that now manufacturing in some places in Africa is much expensive than manufacturing in Switzerland.
Oh.
Yes. Due to the infrastructure and due to the lack of labor, all these things. But at the end, it's our continent. We are really
commitment. Yeah.
looking. Yeah. We think that there's a future. Electrification is less than or around 10%, so the huge
potential
for this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Fathi, you have expanded in several countries in manufacturing. Can you tell us how you moved through the time to invest in manufacturing in certain countries? Yeah.
Our business started in the mid-30s in trading. My grandfather started in Somalia, in Berbera, buying sheepskins and then sending it to Aden, and then from there to Europe. And we continued doing trading until the 70s, where we had the first manufacturing units in Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and we started exporting to a lot of countries in Africa. What happened in the past 10 years, a lot of African countries, they raised the taxes, the tariffs, and the brands that we used to export to those countries. It became very difficult to export, so we had to move into manufacturing, building on the brand equity that we have, built for years. But then, there are issues that many investors they face in Africa when it comes to manufacturing. The constant changes of laws and regulations, the political stability, even though political stability itself is not enough. You have to have also economical prosperity. So what we are doing is now trying to look at those countries with big population, because we are in the consumer food, and we are looking to expand further in other countries in Africa.
Thank you. Isa, the United Arab Emirates are a bigger investor in Africa. I have statistic, 189 projects UAE has invested in creating 40,000 jobs. As a leader in important family business who play a big role in the region though, what is, Fathi, I think he mentioned some factors about stability and the regulation, and also Ahmed mentions the same. What is for you as a family business who have been maybe interaction with for Africa? We hear this morning a lot of investment about infrastructure and things are positive, and I believe it will be better. What is now, what we want now for the next 3 years as a family business to see happening in Africa to attract you as a family business who not yet invested in Africa to come?
I think adding on these two and the other subject that's been mentioned earlier, there is 2 points for me which is important. One is law and order. It's very important is law and order, because if I have a problem, there will be a justice system that will be fair for everybody and not just only fair for the investor. And the other thing is the banks. The banks are only focusing on big projects and not focusing on small projects. This financing, any capital, I don't have to bring all the capital from outside to put a project in any country. I'll bring the capital, but I need also financing from the local banks. So these are adding on to the other points. These are also one of the very 2 important points that can be added to the list.
Hannah, you are working in Sudan with youth investors and trying to also to play and to stimulate youth to be part of the investment dynamic of the country. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
A few years ago, maybe two to 3 years ago, a group of young people who all had one thing in common. We all had family businesses that we were part of. We were discussing the fact that most of the youth are sometimes able to get money to be invested in their startups or their small ideas. But the one thing they all had in common was the fact that if you don't have the right connections in our region, you will most of the time get nowhere. So what we wanted to do is share these connections with
leverage on network.
Yeah, all these young people. But so it was we came up with an idea that was mostly like a venture capital, but a company of that nature still doesn't exist in Sudan. So it was very difficult for us to register the company and deal with the taxation problems. Will we be able to get taxed once instead of twice, and so on? But we ended up registering the company. But the difference between our company, which is called Anafi, by the way, Anafi Capital, and a normal venture capital is the fact that we want to be there for these people until the very end. We don't want to just invest money and whenever it looks good to just pull out and sell. What we want to do is be there for them throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
How successful you are so far? I mean, did you manage to invest in certain projects?
So far, we didn't invest money in certain projects. We had one project that we were very optimistic about, but because of what the revolution and what's been happening, it wasn't a good time to go ahead. However, we're still investing a lot of time. We didn't invest money yet. It wasn't a good idea. But because this group of people is very enthusiastic, we're still investing a lot of time helping them move forward until it's time to actually start the project. However, we mostly thought that we were going to get startups in Sudan, but fortunately, recently we got a startup came and approached us, and I still can't, at this moment I can't say what they do, but they're already operating in Mauritania and in Congo, and they want to open up their business in Sudan and in the Cameroon, which is one of the countries that Al-Nifedi Group operates in. So we were attractive to them because then we also have connections there that we can help them with. So we're very optimistic about that. And we have a few more projects that are on the way.
Thank you. Dr. Laila, you are carrying two hats, really. You are the only one on the panel who carries that. You are institutional investors and also family business. There's several subjects. I mean, when I read about your activity, you promote a lot of the SMEs, and I think you see that without funding the SME, because for the time being, SMEs funding is the biggest obstacle, and we have high level of mortality of SMEs. First question to you is, what do you do? What do you think we can do better for ensuring sustainability of SMEs?
Thank you. I think that first we have to understand why we have problem with financing small and medium enterprises, because this is the issue. Yeah. And it is a fact that small and medium enterprises tend to have difficulties to access finances. And they are facing as well what we call additional other challenges. Firstly, as it was mentioned by my two colleagues, that to invest in Africa, this can involve specific macroeconomic, regulatory, and political risks that needs to be tackled. And secondly, as well my colleague mentioned earlier, that investors tend to prefer to invest in large companies because they have a lower risk of default. They do generally have clearer financial statements, while small and medium enterprises are riskier from the lender's perspective. And this is because they lack sustainability, they lack leadership and governance, they lack understanding of the business generally. And part of the problem is as well the lack of infrastructure, the lack of information infrastructure. And there is certainly an asymmetric when it comes to information that is gathered, actually, especially between the lenders and the suppliers of fund, and a lack of collateral. But I think that it's interesting to understand as well from the investors' perspective. Because usually when we invest for small and medium enterprises, we have to understand, why do we invest? How do we invest in SMEs? How do we assess risk? Who is supporting us as investors, and why? And actually, I would say that I think that scaling up funding for small and medium enterprises will be easier if we have collaboration, partnership between investors, facilitators, and enterprises. And there are different types of partnership, because you have, for small and medium enterprises, you have a partnership that centers on venture capital for startups. You have partnership that centers on crowdfunding platforms. Yeah. Especially for businesses that are involved in innovation, that have innovation business models. And you have as well partnership that seeks to scale foreign direct investment, which is the FDI. And in order for all this partnership to, this all partnership rely in a way heavily on having, I would call a strong investment facilitator in local economies, in local countries. And to ease the access to finance, I think that we should develop and reactivate credit guarantee schemes. We should promote innovation, financial innovations. We need to encourage what we call specialized SME funding, specialized private banks. And we need as well to develop in a way a hometown trust fund for risky small and medium enterprises. So there is definitely an angle that Africa needs to tackle, and which is finding a way and a safe way to finance small and medium enterprises in order to create a better investment dynamic in Africa.
Okay. Another subject is very dear to you
yes.
is gender equality, and I think you heard this morning a lot of investment in women. I just, in preparing, talking to you, I had to be informed a little bit about figures. In matter of fact, yes, Africa in general, representation of women in top executive position or on board is very low. There is a figure is that Sub-Sahara can regain $950 billion if they reintegrate women in the right positions. So what are the challenges?
Let's say first that there are challenges, yes, for sure. But I am as well I'm very optimistic. I'm not trying to be pessimistic at all when it comes to that subject, even if it's hard. I am very optimistic and confident that we will see in the near future more female leaders in boards, because that was the matter. I think that today in Africa we have young African women that are more and more they are educated. They are getting more and more motivated. They are more and more prepared and willing to take responsibilities, and you can see the example. What we need is role models that are lacking. This is the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship, in leadership, and to actually set the example. And I think that it's time for us, women leaders, to show the example, to help, to take the initiative, and to make sure that it happens. So there are a lot of institutional challenges that we can continue talking about today. Yeah. So about the cultural challenges.
But you are optimistic. You're seeing a lot of progress happening.
I'm seeing a lot of it.
As a matter of fact, integration of women in business is not just for the sake of integration. We know that is
for a fact.
For example, I worked a lot in Scandinavia. The most performing companies, their management is equally represented men and women. So that's not something nice to have. It's also for the interest of the business. I will move from this delicate area, but very optimistic. And I would like to ask Ahmed, you have acquired, we're talking about the new investment dynamic in the continent, and so you recently acquired 2 companies in Europe in renewable energy, and you are going very fast. Of course, we talked a lot about renewable energy as a new horizon for investment or new opportunity investment. Was it this acquisition to get technology or to access certain market? And what you see the prospect of that in Africa when it comes to renewable energy?
If you compare renewable energy between today and let's say 10 years ago, the renewable energy it have to be subsidized 100%, so it be able to at least to live. Remember when I acquired some investments in Slovenia in the 2007, they want to take the roof to make electricity and to sell 40 euro cent per kilowatt. 40 euro cent. النهارده you can reach in some countries 2 and 3 and 4 euro cent.
Wow.
And now if we compare with Africa, I think Africa, the only solution to electrify Africa, it's by mini grid and by microgrid and by individual. This mainly focused on the renewable and the batteries. Africa would not be able to be electrified by the normal way, which is huge power stations and transmission lines and distribution companies. Now to build the infrastructure is very expensive. So I think things are moving every day, and I believe very much in the renewables. And we as a company are investing in the renewables in our region, and I think this is really, it's great for the next at least 50 years.
Thank you very much. If there is any question from the audience here for, yes, there's one here. For our panelists. This corner is very active.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to see female represented. So thank you. It's been a pleasure listening. My name is Rania Kargbam from Sierra Leone, West Africa, and I started Sahara Ventures, and we own Sahara Hospital. We're trying to build a cancer center that will serve for prostate and breast cancer, that will serve the Mana River Basin, based in Sierra Leone, because we're trying to attract investments to Sierra Leone. We also own Sahara Oil Sierra Leone, not Sahara Oil Nigeria, I wish. And because, as you know, a few years ago, Sierra Leone found in the Mana River Basin, we found oil. So we want to capitalize on that and also look into exploration and try to get some funding. So I came here for 3 reasons, and I need some guidance on how I can approach that. I came first to look for money, and I came to build a network, because when you build a hospital, you need everything, transportation, all this stuff. And then also a network mostly of women to inspire me, to coach me, to guide me. So I'm looking for any feedback and support. Thank you. To any of the panel members, especially my female colleagues and my men, because we're going to need you also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think we can follow up that after the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Very inspired by what the panel has shared. I'm an investment banker myself, originally from Zambia, but we're active across the African continent. I do notice a bit of a skew here, Doctor. A lot of these businesses are, there's sort of from Muslim majority countries, there's sort of North Africa, a little bit south from that, obviously from Sudan. The question I had for you was, when you look at the rest of the African region, what's the story as far as family-owned businesses? How do they compare to what we're seeing here? Because I'm seeing, like I said, we're talking third generation, fourth generation. What are you seeing in the rest of Africa? We work with a lot of them ourselves, but we wanted to sort of get the academic perspective from you as to what's you have observed. Because we do see the story, there's a trend here, but we wanted to hear about what you're seeing in the rest of the African continent.
Okay, thank you. First thing is, in our research, we have very little data about family business in Sub-Sahara, if you talk about that. We have some champion, you know the names. They are dominating in a lot of places. What is interests me is not the large one. What interests me, what creates the future is the small one, and small and medium size. And this, they have no voice in Sub-Sahara. You as investor bankers, you can help to make their name known. And us, from a point of view, the academic, will be the first one who can support that and promote them and bring them in the network, in such a prestigious network. Because the purpose of our meeting today is to bridge between Middle East and Africa. That is the purpose. That's why it is a different different discussion than what you had this morning, or you will have the next 2 weeks, 2 days. I think we are seeking for collaboration. Let us know the stories, even success or failure, that is welcomed. And we will be happy to. It is without doubt, there's a lot of high level of mortality of family business in Sub-Sahara. And the reason is different reason. And I promise not to speak about challenges and to speak about actions. But some of the reasons have been mentioned here is about regulation, about continuity, about funding, about things like that. But I think there is a lot of hopes because some of these companies are becoming smarter and smarter. We will be happy to link with these companies. And I'm happy to talk to you after the session and to take it from there. But they have no voice. That's the problem. In the GCC, they had strong presence, they advanced, and so in Egypt, despite the fluctuation of the politics, a company like Sweden is, how old you are, Ahmed, now, is how many years since the founder? 60 years. And his friend, who is my dear friend, also Amr Andil, is 105 years. So some companies have been surviving despite the challenges. So I'm making an appealing for everybody. If you know family business in Africa, we would like to bring them to the network, and they will be welcome. They will be welcome. Okay. Does that answer your question a little bit? Okay. We can speak hours, but please.
My name is Daphne Mashilenkosi. I'm from South Africa. I'm in the mining sector. I'm running. I started a mine. I built from scratch. I'm now exporting. I produce 3 million tons of manganese. I'm a role model. And I am standing here to support what Leila said in terms of gender diversity charter, which is a discussion that in Africa it's very difficult. We've been working for the past 3 years to try and actually launch the gender diversity charter so that all CEOs of all companies can sign and subscribe to it so that we can actually best address as one of the challenges that is actually making the Africa we want very difficult to achieve. The second point is a question around how do we as family businesses ensure that we can continue with the vision that we've started. I'm first generation, I started my business. I'm now joined by my children, and I'm always worried about, I think you guys can actually share the experiences in terms of people who come take over, particularly from a board's perspective, and change the vision and the culture of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to answer these questions, and we'll come back to you. So, maybe, Hannah, how you see successful succession for maybe you have a daughter or son that you like to integrate. How you have been successful to enter in the business. I know it was not always walk in the park, but how you have been, now you are learning, you are not in a senior position, but you are taking that from really from the bottom. What can you share with us on that?
What I can share is that I think the first thing that you need in order to ensure that that the next generation will carry on is they need to want to carry on. They can't be forced into the business. But what I can say is the stories about the business were, in my country, you would say they were breastfed to us. So I grew up hearing about the business and about my grandfather's achievements and how he started at the age of 17. And it was mostly like, the way I remember it was like the stories they tell us, our bedtime stories. My father would share how his father started the business. And then we would go and chat to our grandfather about what he used to do at a very young age. And we're more than 50 third generation members. And I think it's safe to say that our dream is to all join the business. No one, very few had other dreams, but whatever industry they go into that's not part of the group, like the medical industry or the academic world, they all want to one day bring that back to the group. They want to start something that they want to be part of the group later on. But I think it's just the stories that they've been telling us since we were young. I think it plays a huge role to be nurtured into the business from a very young age.
So creating passion.
Yeah, we're very passionate, all of us. And as Dr. Hisham said, it's not easy at all. Being accepted into the business at a young age by the employees and whatnot is not very easy.
Because you are carrying a heavy name.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and you always have to prove that nothing was given to you and that you earned everything. And it's very difficult, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Remaining, I think Dr. Laila has something also to share.
Heard your story a couple of times. We talked about it in different places too. I think the main secret is to involve your children from the beginning. Personally, I am very happy to take over. It was hard, difficult. It has some challenges, but it has a lot of advantages because I'm taking over a company that is already here, that already set, than going somewhere else and try to find my way. And the right thing is just to involve us from the beginning because we cannot end up or just wake up in the morning and just find ourselves in a board meetings. We have to deserve that place. And it takes a lot of time, it takes experience, it takes motivation, and it takes guts to do it. And believe me, if you involve your children from the beginning, they will love and appreciate what you are doing, especially in the industry where you are, which is very male-dominated.
Yeah, thank you. Fathi, you have a big family. I mean, I know the family you have, and not all of them maybe will remain in the business. Do you have an approach to retain and reselect, or to attract, retain, and select?
First of all, I'd like to comment about involving, the family members, the young ones. In the case of our family, when we were in high school, every summer we had to work either in the factories, in the packing section. When we went abroad and studied the university, every summer we had to come back and spend at least 1 month working with people. This is just one comment. Just if I can comment quickly about family businesses working in Africa. Family business always wants to keep its business for generations. It wants to keep its legacy. So what we are looking as an investors, as a family business investors in Africa, we're looking for another family businesses who share with us the same principles, the same values, and if we can reach some sort of a roadmap to keep both legacies. It's all about legacies. They want to keep their legacy. We want to keep our legacy. Because I think working with local family businesses, it's about the local knowledge, it's about the local soul, and we bring from the Middle East our international exposure. So it has, I think this is the business model that we are looking for. Since we are big numbers in the family, what we started doing lately in the past 5-6 years is encouraging our family members not to join the family business immediately after universities. We push them to work outside 3, 4, 5 years without promise that they will have a seat because it's becoming much more challenging. Unless we keep expanding, unless we keep growing, unless we keep creating new businesses, how can we accommodate all this number of families? That's why we started encouraging also family business to be entrepreneurs, to create their own companies. We have a fund now, so go and be innovative, fintech, digital economies. This is what we are now pushing more and more. It's not easy. Family members like to be in the comfort zone. Go to the family business, sit down, get a salary, relax, go home. This is normally how family members would like to do. So it's not easy. It's not easy to just tell them.
But hey, you're not making friends here.
I know, but I think I will not have my seat in the family anymore when I go back. So it's always challenging. And Doctor, you know that in family businesses, more than 94%, 95%, they don't survive after the third generation because of these issues of succession, wealth distribution, a lot of issues. I think we all understand.
Yeah. I think I just like to stress this point. 1 second, David. To stress this point, it's true that is the third generation is critical, but this 95% or the third who only survive, it's an American statistic done in a province in US. So don't generalize it, guys. Don't take it as guaranteed. It's more optimistic than that. So, but you know, the power of the American that they promote more than us. So I don't believe it. There is more than that, more success stories than that. I can bring you in the Arab world, I can bring you in certain area in Latin America, you will have higher success. Just this between practice. Yeah.
Women in leadership positions, so to avoid failures. Or not? Because if you have tried, believe
yes.
me.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just saying,
Yes.
we like to have women in the business, not only because we like to have women in the business, because we like to sustain the business.
Because
I say
the
that.
exclusion of women from leadership positions, usually they tend to have a negative impact.
I'm not feeling comfortable here, guys. I mean,
Not only on the productivity, but the longevity of family businesses.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
just
And the statistic is
involve
there.
very talented and
Yeah.
qualified women
Yeah.
that are excluded.
I mean, I have
unfortunately.
3 daughters who's running the business. I'm safe. Ahmed, you mentioned something, and I will come back to the floor, about the same question you mentioned, about the continuity of the family business. And you said, I'm not going to bring any members, or I will bring by merit, and I'm going to be maybe a corporate structure. This is another version, of course, to go to family business. Not all the families like it, but, you know, can you... So tomorrow, if you have somebody in the family who is still smart, you would like to put rule of governance? What's your vision on that?
The family on the board level mainly, and it's of course if anybody of the family would like to work in the company, he can work in the company, but not to put him as a manager or director, because the problem that if you put one of the family as a director of one of the sections of one of the companies, and he did, in my point of view, and he did not succeed, would you fire him? Would you fire his son? Huh? And if he's not doing well, the other employees are able to come to you, tell you your son is doing, let's say, this bullshit. Huh?
Yeah.
They will not. So at the end, it's you will not be able to move ahead. But if you put him as part of as an employee in the company, he will be able to either to gain his business, and he can upgrade himself with time,
yeah.
and he to prove that he's able to be a leader.
Ahmed, he or she, please, because he has...
By the way, I mean it, he or she, yes, and I mean it. Yes.
Yeah.
For my daughter and my son is working on the same for me,
Okay.
the same, identical.
Yeah.
And this is the point. And anybody in the family can do it. Because and I believe that the company have to be public traded, so that anybody on the family will have shares. If you want to continue on, it's fine, but not to link between the shares and the management.
So there is a governance system that
100%.
we have to be aware also that one of the most complex governance is family business governance, because in a normal public companies you have a corporate governance and shareholder governance, and in family you have the third dimension, which is the family governance, which can bring things a little bit more. I'm not comfortable to speak about that because my daughter is watching me. She's a lawyer and she is expert in governance. So I'd like to have, before going to the floor again, Isa, you have several children working with you, and you have a theory about that, how to bring them to business. So if you can share with us how you developed that.
Unfortunately, I have 7 boys, so no girls. So I cannot bring them to any girls, but their wives can be, but that's up to them.
Yeah.
My philosophy is always, if they like to do the business, they come in. I don't force them to come in. And that is, you need to buy in, that they will be part of the business. And I have 4 of my children are working with me in my business. And I told them, now I'm going to relax. I would like you to work, because this is your company. You have to break it or make it. It's up to them. So this is put a pressure on them how how they would like to take this company forward. Because, you see, we are at a stage now, you can do things, and we will do the things, but later on, you need to take them into confidence that they will take this business forward. With that one, they say you can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot make it to drink. But somebody told me, no, you can make him to drink. Just give him a little bit of salt, and he will drink the water. So, but in this, it is how you can make that passion in them to join the business and be part of it, and they're successful. And it is all to do with hard work. In a normal way, you have 8 hours to work and then finish. But in a family business, it's hard work. It doesn't finish till the evening.
I think it's just to summarize what I hear is I think this important factor is empowerment and passion. We have to create the passion, and we have to empower, and of course, as Ahmed was saying, the rule of governance. We have strong rule of governance. I think this is pillars who can ensure the continuity of family business sustainability. I have a question. David, you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think my question builds on the discussion we've been having about continuity. So we're looking at family businesses that are third, fourth generation, second, third, fourth generation, and frankly, working in some of the most difficult environments in Africa and elsewhere. So I'd be quite interested in hearing practical tips, because in other countries where the environments are maybe less hostile, so to what do you attribute your success and longevity?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Thank you. You like to take this, Hannah?
I'd like to say that you hear a lot about women leadership and empowering women and whatnot, but let's say my family, I deserve to be at the top, and they take me and put me at the top. It does not really mean I'll be doing my job the way I'm supposed to be, because there are other factors that really create big obstacles. And I spoke about this before in February in the Sarawat space, and I said that even if you're being put at the top by the family and they trust you and they give you all the authority that you need to go forward, will the people in the company accept the fact that you deserve to be at the top, especially that I'm a woman? Not a lot of people accept female leadership. Even other females, unfortunately. So even if I'm at the very right place that I'm supposed to be at, other employees or other family members or other people that I would be dealing with, even if they're not part of the company, they would automatically go to the next male employee that can do whatever I'm doing, because they expect it to be done better than. And that plays a huge role in my self-esteem and my confidence. So I take this with me back home every night, and it makes me doubt myself, and it makes me doubt my decisions the next morning, and it makes me cry sometimes, But I think this is one thing that's not being looked at the moment. Putting women in leadership positions is not enough. You need to train the people to accept these women in leadership positions. And you need to train the women themselves to believe in themselves and to be assertive and to act based on their intuition. It's okay to be a woman in a business. And I was also telling Farida that professionalism was defined based on the man's psychology and the man's nature of living. So if I cry at the office because I'm frustrated, I'm being unprofessional. But it's okay, I can cry. It's how I am naturally. This is how I express my feeling. So if I want to cry, I should be able to cry. It doesn't mean I'm not professional. But because it was defined based on men, anything that a man doesn't usually do is considered not professional. So I think that's one thing that we need to work on.
Yeah. Fatih, what would you like to say?
add on the what we can do to make the family business, continuity. My uncle, who's in his mid-90s, for the past 20 years, whenever we meet him, he keeps telling us the stories of his hardship in the 40s and 50s. And he keeps repeating the same stories time over time, since I got really bored. Sometimes I say, he keeps repeating the same stories. But I realized that my sons are, they did not feel it. Now, I mean, here he talks about the values. How can we transmit the values of the founders, of those who worked so hard in very harsh times, and how their stories became something that we are proud of. How we make our next generations proud about the hardship and how we have created the business. Also, one important aspect is paying back to the community. And this is very important for family businesses, because if you pay back to the community, then you have this pressure from the community to continue and to grow. So this has been, at least in our case, very important. So then you hear everyone in the community saying, yeah, we would like this family to continue. We would like to see this family going for 100 years because of its good contribution in the community.
I think this is a very important point. I'll come back to you guys. Very important point. I just summarize what he said. There is one of the skills David is asking also about your skills as a leader also to drive in tough situation, in tough country. And I think one of the things that your family has performed, that most of the family who's sitting here are doing excellent in it, is what we call stakeholder engagement. Very important that you look to your ecosystem and you see who is the stakeholders around you who you need. I have a friend of me who is running a business outside Lagos, and he said to me, my day is the following. I go in the morning, I go to the hospital where my employees were supposed to go and to be ensuring that there is a power and there is a backup for the power and backup of the power. And then I go to the school where the kids are going and ensure that they have enough food. And then all this stakeholder engagement is very important. And your, Fathi, your family has been doing that all over where they're going. They invested a lot in the ecosystem of the stakeholders. And I think it's very important for the sustainability of families to look at your surrounding and not just to look about growth, absolute growth. So that is, we have some questions. Some people are impatient on that. So gentlemen here, because you have been raising your hand since a while, and then Anis, and then yourself. And, sorry. No, forgive me. So you are yes. After the gentleman, okay. This is corruption a little bit.
Thank you very much for an interesting session. My name's Engineer Farouk Yabu from Nigeria. Now, I wanted to take us back to the issue of succession plan. Usually 2 issues are involved, ownership and leadership. Now, interestingly, the panelists are all from an Islamic country. Mostly, I believe there are some issues to do with ownership between women and men. I know in terms of, what do you call it, inheritance, there is that difference. Having said that, I would like to hear from the panelists, what are the structures in terms of selection criteria when somebody passed on, right? I also want to hear about the reward and punishment system in normal family business so that it will give us an idea.
The last one?
Reward and punishment system in managing family business. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That's a session in itself. We will try to make justice for that in a few. Somebody like to shoot this? Dr. Laila?
That is a fact that we are all from a Muslim country. This is not what I did not pay attention to that. But there is an interesting fact that succession in family businesses, there were a lot of challenges and impediments that has been studied in Africa. And exceptionally, there is one factor that was not taken into account, and it did not appear in any country in Africa, which is religion, which was a factor that was not taken into account. You do have a lot of impediments, and basically there are institutional impediments. You have traditions, culture, norms, legal system, political, but not religions at all. So the second part is about inheritance and what are the different criteria of selections. I think that I come from a family where I am not the eldest. I am not the only girl. I do have 4 brothers, 6 sisters. I have 2 older sisters and 1 older brother. But I think that the succession came smoothly. I do have a father that is still alive. And the criteria was determination, motivation, intelligence, I think, availability. Yeah, that's true. Availability. And that's what the criteria is, because there is individual traits that are exceptionally important. And I come from a country where it's 100% Muslim country. We do have 5 ethnic groups. And I come from I have a mother who's from another country, which can be an impediment, from a black African country, and I'm from my father is from an Arab country. So there are so many constraints that could appear, but I made it simply because I showed that I was capable to do so. That's it.
So this you're talking about the subject is very delicate. Matter of fact, because there's also the religion, the Sharia, and all these things. And if you allow me not to go in this in depth, maybe Dr. Laila answered that. But there is a lot of solution, and there is a lot of models, and some of them working very well, respecting the religion and at the same time rewarding the right talent, like what she said. So do you have any comment, Ahmed, on this? No. So we have still 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, you have to go? Okay. So sorry, Tfaddal. So you're most welcome. Sorry. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you. So we have another question. No, the lady first. Yeah, sorry.
I actually stood so that I make sure you can see. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very interesting panel. My thoughts are with regards to your discussions about continuity. We come from, sub-Saharan Africa. We are a bedrock of a lot of innovation, a lot of small and medium-sized businesses that are growing. So with linking it to continuity, what are your thoughts in terms of doing acquisitions or getting involved in some of these medium-sized businesses so that the innovation and continuity is not just internally generated? You could do it through either acquiring some of these businesses or doing joint ventures with these businesses. Those businesses are across the hall on the other side in session room 2. So I was just thinking, could this be something that you actually look to do as part of your continuity?
Yeah.
And then the second thing with regards to data, especially about how sub-Saharan African companies are doing in family businesses, we have very strong associations that are coming up. We have the Association of Family Business Enterprises. They're very strong in East Africa. We have the lady from, she was here a minute ago, Africa Venture Capital Association, East Africa Venture Capital Association. So there are a lot of efforts to put the data together, and I'd be happy to just share some of those thoughts because it'll give you a deeper data-driven
Thank you.
view.
Yeah, that's what I appreciate. Yeah. Thank you very much. About the acquisition and Isa, can you take that?
I think the acquisition is not, in family businesses, a little bit difficult, but what is better is to capitalize on the know-how of any company and with a collaboration to go elsewhere or to come up with an innovative, creative ideas. That is much more than acquisition, because acquisition is mainly, you will see it, is a short-term solution for a big organization, whereby they would like to see the numbers coming up too fast so they can show their investors that they are doing, growing the business. But family business is always a long-term vision rather than short-term vision, while the other people are looking at it on the shorter term. So here it is, I would like to find out whom to collaborate with my know-how that I have strong in my area, and working together we can do a better business. Or going into innovative, creative ideas, like, we are looking now into vertical farming, where you can, on 7 stories high shelves, you can grow green vegetables for around the year, because we come from a desert country. We need the vegetables to be imported. And that is in summer, where the temperature goes up to 48 degrees. It's very difficult to grow these vegetables. So here is innovative, creative ideas that vertical farming is possible. These are something new. There is challenges. They might work, it might not work, but you need to go with this venue, because it's a new idea.
Any comments on that?
Let's say that collaboration and partnership is the proper term than acquisition for family businesses. And usually, in order for us to grow, it will be, you have 4 criteria that I usually cite. First, you need to look for a trustworthy partner, a partner that have successful partnership track record. You need to look for a partner that have aligned interest, and mainly share the same value, and this is the key.
Yeah, it's, sorry, I forget him. Yeah, please. He was before you, sorry.
Thank you very much. Fascinating discussion. My name is Pras, I'm from Zimbabwe. Sorry to take you a little bit backwards, but I feel that we've just been way too diplomatic about this topic. How do we tell a brother or sister who has been in the business that your attitude and behavior is starting to affect the business negatively? I think there's this culture in Africa of trying to cover each other, and I think it starts from our families and it goes all the way up to our politicians. So how do we tell a brother who is becoming bad for the business that we still love you as our brother or sister, but your behavior or attitude is no longer good for this business, and we think you need to step aside, something like that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is amazing questions, and very, very, very important, very critical. And before giving you what I see as the experience, I would like to just ask the panelists if you have, Fathi, I think, but you go slowly because...
Family business is, at the end, it's about compromise. You have to compromise, okay? Yes, you might have a brother, a cousin, whatever, who's at some point he will not be an added value, or sometimes he might be of a distraction. This is not easy, okay? But in some cases, those people, I think, if you can convince them to stay at home and you make sure that their welfare is taken care of, and their children, if they are there, they can be taken care of, that could be an exit. But it's easy said, but it's not easy to implement. But yeah, this is one of the challenges of family businesses. So you will have just to live with it and just to find a way softly.
Yeah, please, Hannah. Yeah, don't worry.
I just wanted to answer part of her question earlier about acquisition. I think it's very important for family businesses to invest in small and medium-sized businesses, because they're usually the future of the company, sorry, I'm just thinking of the company, of the country. I think if family businesses can realize that developing the country means developing the right environment for your next generations to prosper, then they would understand how important it is to invest in small businesses, medium-sized startups, and so on. Because you could reach a point where there are only certain people that can make it in a country, and then you kind of hit a glass ceiling for new investments in the company when only there is like 20 companies that can go forward and the rest are being held back because they don't know the right people and so on, as I mentioned earlier. So I think for our future generations to prosper in a family business or just generally in a country, we do need to support small and medium-sized businesses immensely.
Okay.
About the
question.
The brother or the sister with the bad attitude. I disagree. I think the whole point of a family business, first you have to decide, in our family, we had to decide as a family whether the business is there to support the family or the family is there to support the business at first. Yeah. And then we all agreed that the business is there to, the family is there to support the business. So the business is the most important. But the problem is, if we don't have a family, then there will be no family business to support. You know what I mean? So I think if a brother or sister has bad attitude, maybe I'm really young and I'm super romantic about my family business at the moment, but I think you need to figure out why they have bad attitude. Try to help that brother or sister move forward and find a place where they shine better. Maybe the position they're in is not the right position for them and they were just put there because they're part of the family. I don't know, it could be a million things, but I think you should find the root of the problem before telling that person that they have bad attitude and they're affecting the business and they should leave.
Which is another discussion, can go for hours. There is no magic formula. And I think just to explain to people that you need certain governance. It's not complicated, but you need certain rule of game. When are you a member of the family and when you are a member of the business? And how you can always stay as shareholder, but not in the business. And a lot of family is giving this option. Other option is maybe he's not performing or she's not performing because it's not her passion or his passion. So this is, as Hannah is saying, a discussion will be but there is no magic formula. It's very delicate, and you can find hundreds of stories for that. And you have to go also with your common sense and the culture of your family and so on. So we have yourself, sir? Yeah. 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 So, but he was before you. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
My name is.
Okay, it's yours. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
All
Go
right.
ahead. Yeah.
My name is Mugwe Manga. I'm from the country of runners, Kenya, and I am coming from a family business, family office, but I cannot run. Mine is more a comment followed by a question. I wanted to just refer back to the question about sub-Saharan Africa, why there are not enough family businesses. I think we have to look historically. The country that gained independence, the first was Ghana in 1957, Kenya in 1963. Before then, Africans were not allowed to do business, let alone even own a bank account. So we are starting from a we're starting very late in the game when it comes to businesses. In our business, my father started it back in 1972, buying a colonial steel mill, and we have now diversified into renewable energy, real estate, manufacturing, and agriculture. But my question is on the difference between family businesses and family offices, because we have seen a transition in North America, Europe, Asia, where they're more advanced, where they have gone from owning and running the family businesses, and they've said, you know what? Let's list these in the stock exchanges, let's create good partnerships, and then let's have a nice family office that manages and gives leadership to our investments. My question is, how attractive is it to yourselves, being lucky enough to be fourth generation plus, to probably migrate towards having a family office as opposed to keep being in the family business? Thank you.
Anybody like to answer this?
Just tell him that I don't feel concerned because I'm still in the second generation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
In our case, it's an 81 years old family business. We just started only lately, in the past 2 years, to create a family business. But it is still a long way because we are still a lot of family members still would like to be in the business, to do the business, to be in charge of the business. So it will take us time. I would like to see that. I would love, to see family members only in board members positions or just in investors or shareholders, and run the business with professionals. But it's not easy because it's also a cultural issue that you have to be on the top of your business. So it's starting, but it's a long way to go.
Just to answer about the family office and the family business. Academically, a family office is a part of a family business arm for the family to manage the wealth and also to take care of family members who is not active in business. That was the definition of family offices. Family office became after that running, some people confused the structure and they put family office running the business. This will never happen in the Middle East and Africa because people like to have hands-on. The evolution now that you see now is that even family office becoming a venture capital company, replacing the, because like Hannah is saying, a lot of family business, for the sake of diversification, don't touch the backbone, but just go invest in 10, 12 certain startups. Maybe one of them will be a joker. So the mindset of family offices is changing as well. But of course, there's a lot of successful family offices who is running the business, but it's not replacing the business. It's not replacing the business. So that is, I have some, please, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the gentleman there, please.
My name's Andrew Skipper. I work at Hogan Lovells, a law firm, but I've advised a lot of big family businesses, global family business and smaller ones. How do you, part of their success involves keeping it in the family, but also bringing in external talent and making that talent feel valued and respected so that it can actually drive forward the family business. I haven't heard anything really about how you bring in people from outside, develop the business, which most of the very big family firms across the world have done. And also, anecdotally, my father-in-law and his brother used to sort out their problems by fighting in the boardroom, I believe. But that company went bust in the 80s.
You like to answer? Yes.
Based on my family business history, I'm from the second generation. My father created his first company in '82. It was called Confiserie, Bonbon.
Right.
And he started growing his business by getting involved in a lot of different sectors that actually were helping the economy, the involvement of the economy itself, because that was something that was needed. Every single company that he created, he went into a partnership with the best of the best, and not only Africans, but partners that are from all over the world. And this was his first strategy. And the reason why is to bring the know-how locally. And that's how he succeeded. We've been involved in the tobacco industry. We've been involved in the distribution industry. We've been involved in the airline industry. We've been involved in the mobile industry. He's been involved in the automotive industry. And even in the banking industry, he had to go to partnership with the other investment banks abroad. So the secret to me, and I've seen him succeeding for the last 30 years, it was to get into a partnership with the best. That's it.
I think to answer the question, because we have very little time and I have another question. Just to answer your question, sir, the purpose was not to talk about governance structure here, we talk about investment dynamic. But I agree with you, most successful companies has always independent board members in their board to bring new insight, because sometimes this is the limit between success and failure, sometimes to have somebody telling you the truth or telling you that you have to do it in this way or something like that as an independent director. And I think in the Gulf region, and this aspect is very advanced. They have invested a lot in the restructuring efficient board, and they bring people from outside as independent directors. Of course, remain that the family business like to control, and it is not something like you will see a balance like you see in public companies and things like that. But yes, the point well taken. This is very important criteria for the success. Last question, because we are limited on time.
Hi everyone, my name is Tumelo. I'm from South Africa. And Mr. Alagami, like when you began your speech earlier, you mentioned building alliances and partnerships between the family businesses, as well as investing in startups and the tech.
Yeah.
As well as Ms. Bumatu, you mentioned partnerships with regard to financing, as well as a safer way for investing in SMMEs. So basically my question to you guys is, what are your thoughts on implementing blockchain technology within your organizations to create transparency and efficiency?
So complicated, man, with your terms. I think that, because you mentioned about technology and innovation, I would tell you three main things that are quite important to make, to bring the stable environment. Stable macroeconomic policies, that is needed. I would say a stable and transparent political environment and a good governance. Those are the three main things that will allow you to succeed, even if you are involved in technology or involved in any business. That are the three main things.
Okay, I think that's...
I just wanted to add, this blockchain is a revolution will happen in the future. In the Dubai and the Emirates, we are slowly getting more and more, up to the extent that no need at this moment, I mean, the person who to sign the land deed, it will be all documented seamlessly. So no, this will reduce failure, fraud, as well as they will be more transparent, as well as it will be very fast. So there will be a very big future for chain block system that will take place. I was talking to DP World, Dubai Ports, and in the future they will be, reducing this from 7 days maybe to 1 day or 2 days with the seamless documentation.
Okay, unfortunately we can discuss this. A lot of questions came out, very interesting, honestly, and thanks for the people who touched very critical issues on family business. Family business is a magic world. It's concerning us all, and today we could not go in depth in a lot of aspects, but I would like to thank first my panelists, and unfortunately Mr. Ahmed has to go away to the airport, I think. Thank you very much for your traveling until here, for your preparation, taking the time to be with us. We have been discussing that. I was honored and that I worked with you in preparing this panel. Thanks very much for the audience and thanks for your very interesting questions. I hope that we give you a little bit of flavor. As I said, family business is open to collaborate between them and with others, and I hope that this has been useful for you and explaining you a little bit some of the